No one is coming to save you, and that realization is either the most terrifying moment of your life or the most powerful one. And you feel it, the low-grade persistent hum of dissatisfaction. It's not a roaring fire of outright crisis, but a quiet, smoldering ember of discontent that lives in the back of your mind. It's the feeling you're stuck in a life that doesn't quite fit, like a suit you never picked out. You go through the motions, the job that pays the bills but drains your spirit, the relationship that feel more like a habit than a connection. The daily routine that feels like a loop that you cannot escape. It's the Sunday scaries that start on Saturday afternoon. It's watching your own life from a third-person perspective, like a passenger in a car that you're not steering. It's that moment late at night when you're left with the quiet question, is this really it? And so you find yourself waiting. You're waiting for the economy to get better, for the kids to get older, for your boss to recognize your value. You're waiting for someone to show up, a mentor, a partner, a savior, to grab your hand and pull you out into the life you were meant to live. You scroll through endless feeds of people living impossibly shiny, created lives, and you think to yourself, one day you will get the green light you've been searching for that gives you permission to go, to start, to become. I'm here to tell you something that you already feel in your bones, a truth that is both terrifying and profoundly liberating. No one is coming to save you. There is no cavalry in the horizon. There is no secret benefactor that will solve all your problems. The mentor you're dreaming of is busy. The universe is not going to send you a handwritten invitation. The external validation you're waiting for, that definitive permission slip to change your own life, will never ever arrive. It is a myth. Real earth-shattering, life-altering change doesn't start with a sign or a savior. It begins in that devastating silence when you accept that tough reality. It begins the moment you decide to stop waiting and start acting. It begins when you decide to become your own hero. It starts when you intentionally delete the old you. Before we get to how to, you need to understand with absolute clarity why your old identity has you in a chokehold. Most people try to change their lives by changing their actions alone. They buy the gym membership, download the language app, wake up at 5 a.m. every week, and for a while it works. Then, like clockwork, the powerful, invisible, elastic band of their old self snaps them right back to where they started. The gym shoe starts to gather dust, and the snooze button resumes its run. And why does this happen every time? Because they're trying to install brand new software on an ancient, incompatible hardware. Your identity is your life operating system. It's the set of core beliefs you hold about who you are and what you're capable of and what you deserve. Nigel, do you deserve a treat? Your brain, above all else, is a consistency machine. Predictability means safety. Your brain has a powerful drive to keep your external actions and your internal self-image in sync. This phenomenon is known as the pursuit of cognitive consistency. When your behavior contradicts your identity, your brain experiences a state of jarring tension, an alarm called cognitive dissonance, and it will do anything to resolve that discomfort. Think of your identity as a thermostat that is locked at a specific setting. If you hold an identity as a messy, disorganized person, your thermostat is set to disorganized. You can muster a heroic burst of willpower and clean your entire house or room until it's spotless. But now your internal reality, like a clean house for example, conflicts with your internal identity, like a messy person. This mismatch creates that psychological static and your subconscious mind hates it. It will work behind the scenes to get things back to your programmed normal. You will leave one dish in the sink. You will let that mail pile up. You will self-sabotage until your external world once again perfectly matches your internal identity. This is the invisible force field that causes small self-improvement to fail. You cannot achieve new, lasting results with an old, ingrained identity. You cannot become a calm and patient person if you fundamentally identify as someone with a short fuse. Like this one, for example, he has a really short fuse, right? You cannot become wealthy if your core identity is that of someone who is always broke. Your identity is the invisible script running every scene of your life. Until you rewrite the script itself, you will be doomed to repeat the same act over and over again. Now it's crucial to understand that this old identity isn't your fault, and you didn't choose it. For many of us, it was something like a suit of armor we built in childhood to survive our environment. Maybe you became the quiet one to avoid conflict. Maybe you became the class clown to get attention. Maybe you became the hyper-responsible one because no one else was stepping up. These were brilliant survival tactics for the child you were. But now that same suit of armor has become the walls of your adult prison. And we have to acknowledge that for many, breaking out isn't just a matter of willpower. Recent data shows that 4 in 10 high school students report persistent feeling of sadness or hopelessness. Furthermore, a huge number of young people with major depression do not receive any form of treatment. These identity walls can feel really thick. These are not just like fleeting feelings, they are real mental challenges. This is a call to become your own hero, but it's not a denial that sometimes heroes need backup. Acknowledging the depth of the challenge and seeking professional help when needed isn't a sign of weakness. Acknowledging the weight of the armor is the first step towards learning how to finally take it off. Recognizing that your identity is the lock is step 1. Realizing you're holding the key is step 2. Deleting that old identity is a whole process. So this is something like a blueprint for becoming your own savior. Step 1. Conduct a brutal self-audit. You cannot delete a file you cannot find. The first step is to get ruthlessly honest about the identity you're currently running. Become a detective of your own life. Grab a piece of paper and answer this question with honesty. Who have I been? Look at the data of your life. Are you the person you swears they will wake up early but consistently lives by the mercy of the snooze button? Write it down. I have been someone who prioritizes short-term comfort over long-term goals. Are you the person who talks about starting a business but spends their whole nights in the research phase instead of making a sales call? Write down, I have been someone who avoids risk and seeks safety and planning. Are you the people pleaser who says yes while their resentment builds? Write down, I have been someone who values others' approval more than my own well-being. Are you the procrastinator, the victim, the cynic, the person who is always late? Map out your patterns. For finance, what story do your bank statements tell? For health, look at your grocery receipts and your calendar. Does this data show a person who actively prioritizes their energy? For connections, who are the last 5 people you texted? Do they challenge and inspire you, or do they co-sign your excuses? What are your go-to excuses? Do you blame your boss, your partner, your past? Do you dive into your phone, Netflix, or junk food at the slightest hint of discomfort? Get it all down on paper without judgment. It's like you're taking inventory of the current operating system. Step 2. Define your desired identity with precision. Nigel, once you know who you've been, you get the profound privilege of deciding who you are becoming. This isn't a fantasy, it's a design. But be careful, most people list goals. Goals are what you want to have. Identity is about who you need to be. Make $1 million is a goal. Become a disciplined problem-solving machine is an identity. Ask yourself, who is the version of me that already has all the things I want? What do they believe? How do they carry themselves? What are their daily habits? What is their default response to failure? Write these traits down in the present tense. I will be tells your brain that hasn't happened yet. I am begins closing that gap immediately. No, I will be a disciplined person. Write, I am a disciplined person who honors the commitments I make to myself. Do not write, I will become confident. Write, I'm confident and grounded in my own value. Do not write, I want to be healthy. Write, I am a vibrant, energetic person who enjoys nourishing my body. Here's the cool part, backed by science. While your brain knows the difference between real and imagined events, your nervous system often doesn't. Neuroscience shows that vividly imagining your future self-activates many of the same neural pathways as if you were actually doing it. And this is called the principle of Hipps' law. Neurons that fire together, wire together. You're like quite rewriting your brain for success. Step 3. Identify your anchors and build a transition identity. Deleting your old identity might feel terrifying because it feels like annihilation. This isn't about becoming a completely different person. It's about shading, removing the layers that aren't you. To do this, you must find your anchors. What are the 3 to 5 qualities that you're at absolute best? Think back to moments when you felt proud and authentic. Curiosity, resilience, compassion, loyalty, honesty, these are all your identity anchors. These are the parts of you that don't get deleted. This makes the challenge feel more like a manageable walk than a terrifying leap. For example, old identity. I'm a procrastinator who never finishes anything. The new identity is something like I'm a disciplined person who executes without hesitation. And the transition identity will be I'm the kind of person who is practicing the skill of taking consistent small actions every day, anchored in my integrity. Another example, old identity. I'm socially awkward. The new identity will be I'm a charismatic communicator. The transition identity will be I'm a curious person who is practicing the act of asking good questions and listening more than I speak, which I'm not. I do speak a lot sometimes when I'm with the right people. Do not shit on me. This transition identity is built in, period. It acknowledges the learning process, reduces the pressure of perfection, and of course makes the journey feel achievable. Step 4. The science of behavior alignment. Here is where 99% of people get it backward. They wait to feel like the new person before they start acting like them. And this is a fatal error. It's like waiting for the room to get warm before you turn on the heater. There is a concept in psychology called self-perception theory, developed by Daryl Bem. It states that we often decide who we are based on our actions. When our feelings are ambiguous, we look to our own behavior for clues. Your brain sees you do something and concludes, I must be the kind of person who does that. You have to start creating evidence that you're this new person. Start with microvotes. Actions so small they feel stupidly easy to do. If your new identity is a healthy person, your first vote is putting on your running shoes and walking to the end of the driveway, for example. The next is drinking 1 glass of water before your coffee. If your new identity is a writer, your first vote is opening a document and writing 1 single sentence. That's the win. If your new identity is calm, mindful person, your first vote is taking 3 intentional deep breaths as second you feel your shoulders tighten up. Every action is a vote cast for your new identity. Each vote sends a powerful signal to your brain. See, maybe this is who we are right now. 1 vote is strange, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern. You're building a mountain of evidence in your favor, 1 tiny pebble at a time. Motivation doesn't precede the action, it follows it. No, it's not healthy for you, Nigel. 5. Curate your environment. Your identity is constantly being reinforced or challenged by your environment. The people, the content, the space you inhabit. You cannot become a new person in an old environment. You can't grow an orchid in a dark cellar. This is often the hardest part, and you might spend less time with friends who unconsciously pull you back into old habits, just like I was doing. It means setting firm boundaries. It means unfollowing every social media account that makes you feel anxious or small. If the content you consume isn't making you better, it's for sure making you worse. Then proactively build an environment that makes your new identity the path of least resistance. If you're becoming a reader, put a book on your pillow, making it easier to read than to grab your phone. If you're becoming a healthy person, put your running shoes by the front door and fresh fruit on the counter. If you want to become more focused, delete the social media apps from your phone's home screen. Architect your world to support your evolution. Do not rely on willpower. Design a world where your desired identity is the default setting. Do not eat my nails! What if? Nigel? When you start shedding your old skin, there will be a period of intense discomfort. It can feel like being lost in a thick fog, a void between who you were and who you are becoming. This confusion is not a sign that you're failing. It's the ultimate sign that it's working. Do not eat my nails, please. It's the feeling of a muscle tearing so it can grow back stronger. I'm sorry, Nigel is making me smile. You have to let go of 1 bar to grab the next. There is a terrifying moment of free fall in between. Most people can't stand the feeling of falling, so they scramble back to the safety of their first bar, to the familiar comfort of their old identity. Nigel? Your survival-focused brain craves safety. When you act in new ways, it sounds a primal alarm bell screaming danger, retreat to what we know. That feeling of resistance, that friction that makes starting something new feel so hard. That's the alarm. Most people interpret it as a stop signal. And this is a trap. That resistance is the feeling of your brain actively rewriting itself. It's the neurological sensation of growth. Pushing through is the work. When you feel that internal friction, don't back down. Name it. Say to yourself, oh, there is it. Hello, resistance. This is the feeling of my brain reprogramming. I recognize you, but I'm in charge now. And then take one small action anyway. Be aware of something called an extinction burst. Just before an old habit finally dies, it will often flare up with surprising intensity. You might binge eat after a week of clean eating. And this is not a sign of failure, it's the sign of a final battle that you're about to win. You have to push through. It's the last gasp of the old you. Over time, as you cast more votes for your new identity, the resistance will fade. The new neural pathways will become the new default. That unfamiliar will become familiar. I'm sorry, I'm looking at him. Oh my gosh. Nigel, your first 24 hours, Nigel. This is not just another interesting idea. The chasm between... The chasm, I'm not sure how is it called. The chasm between the life you have and the life you want isn't filled with more thinking or more research. I'm sorry. That gap is filled with doing, with action. Here's your mission for the next 24 hours. Not next week, not tomorrow, today. Just two simple things. First, take 5 minutes. Write down your 3 to 5 identity anchors, values that represent the best of you. This is your foundation. Second, pick one single small action, a microvote that represents your desired identity. And do it now, right now. Drink that glass of water. Write the one sentence. Meditate for, 60 seconds. Send that one difficult email or message. And that's it. That's your first piece of evidence. This is your first conscious vote for your new you. It is a declaration. It is the first push on a massive flywheel that will begin to spin with unstoppable momentum. Deleting your old identity is just step one, uninstalling the old operating system. The next step is installing the new one, building the specific habits and systems that make your success almost automatic. The life you want is not going to magically appear. It must be built vote by vote, action by action. The moment you stop looking for a savior is the moment you realize you are and always have been the one you were waiting for. Now, go do the work. Like I have to do. I have to feed him because he's so annoying right now. But I love him.